When Queen Elizabeth visited Ireland back in 2011, one of the unforgettable moments occurred in Cork's famous English market when she had a remarkable encounter with fishmonger Pat O'Connell.
Pat joins us in studio this morning to tell us all about it. The most famous fishmonger in Ireland, if not the world, at this stage. Pat, tell us how it came about in the first place. How did you get to meet the Queen in the first place?
Well, it's a long story as to how it came, because originally they were trying to get Barack Obama, who came a couple of weeks before the Queen. So he was invited to Cork, but that didn't work out because his schedule was too tight. So then somebody in City Council said, well, the Queen is coming to Dublin, let's try the Queen.
So you got her. So she was the
Really,
number two choice.
The best laid plans, you know. And it was funny because my lads inside were disgusted that Barack Obama wasn't coming and that was the Queen. And I thought, no, lads, you've got this all wrong. The Queen is like so much more important to this country than Barack Obama, because he's doing it for an election reason. She's doing it for a historic reason. And like, this is an opportunity and a window in history that, you know, presents itself every now and then. And it's only if people make that leap.
Yeah.
And speaking of history,
that was pretty much on the money.
That whole her trip over here, there was so many historic moments, but one captured beautifully is the shot. We just showed it on screen a second ago, where you're having the crack. And there's one thing that people always seem to say about the Queen is that she had a great sense of humour, and you drew that out from her. You got that from her. You got a smile. You got a laugh out of her. What was the joke that did it?
I have no idea how nervous I was on that day. You know, I mean, I do fish, the Queen does horses, and there's very little common ground between both except the head and the tail, you know.
But how was it? Was she? Everyone says because she was a warm, kind of nice person to meet. Because I mean, you obviously it was pretty daunting.
Well, yeah, I mean, we did a run through beforehand with RT, just as a kind of practice run.
Yeah. And
one of the producers, RT, took the place of the Queen, and it kind of was exactly as I thought. It was kind of distant and frosty, and I thought, oh God, this is not the market.
Yeah.
And I kind of thought, oh God, I'm not going to do this. There's just too much protocol, too much, you know. So when the Queen arrived, obviously very nervous, but we were lucky in the sense that we had a superb display of fish on the morning from Castletown Bear in West Cork, where we get our fish for the last 62 years. That's
fresh
not
off
my
the
age.
boat.
That's not my age, by the way. My mother started the business.
Anyway, keep going there, no, Pat.
We had an incredible display of fish, and one of the first ones we had was a monkfish, which in Cork we call the mother-in-law fish. It's got really nasty teeth, and I think it's because of that.
I never heard that before.
I can say that, but I got on really well with my mother-in-law on the day, so she'll understand. So the Queen obviously saw this monstrosity of a head with big pikey teeth, and she said, gosh, what's that? And I said, that's the, thinking, will I say mother-in-law fish or will I say monkfish? And I said, hell, here goes. This is a mother-in-law fish, and it was only a couple of weeks after William and Kate's wedding, so, you know, wedding to mother-in-law was still fresh, and she threw back her head and laughed, and I thought, this woman is just fine, this woman gets it.
Yeah.
And that broke the ice, really, and after that we just had such a laugh, and you know, that particular week was very close to my 30th wedding anniversary, and I turned around to her and said, you know, this week is kind of my 30th wedding anniversary, and the last time I was this nervous was 30 years ago. And she said, yeah, but you're okay now, aren't you? And I said, yeah, kind of, like I said, a bit like a swan, you know, very smooth on top, but God, am I paddling like hell underneath.
So you chatted away, though.
Yeah, that was just the start of a relationship, though, because you were invited over to Buckingham Palace to meet her again, and when she walked into the room, she said, it's my fishmonger.
So funny because I had got the invitation, which was a pink invitation, and my wife came over with me, but she wasn't allowed to go to the night because they don't do 1+1s apparently. So when we were going over, I got a phone call to say there would be another invitation at the hotel I was staying in. So I said, okay. So when I got the reception, a letter there from Mr. O'Connell, got the letter and kind of half looked at it, half put it in the pocket of the suit I was wearing that night. And went to Buckingham Palace, and there was I'd say there was probably about 200 people going to this reception that night. It was a week before President Higgins went for a more formal thing, so this was kind of more casual with people that had, I suppose, influenced English life and done well in England, and a few brought over from Ireland. So we were right into the courtyard, and we were queuing up, and they were all taking out their pink invites, and I took out my one, and it was white with a red line, and I thought, okay, why is this different?
What are they going to do with me?
I've got the wrong house or I've got the wrong days. So I kind of read it 20 times and I said Buckingham Palace on that day. So got inside the door and I was asked to stand to one side and I thought, oh God, this is getting worse by the second. I was just dying of death. And this guy came over and said, don't panic, you're okay. And I said, am I showing it that much? You look nervous. So he said, she just wants to meet a couple of you upstairs in private.
Oh, wow.
So went upstairs and we were chatting away, and then there was an announcement that the Queen and Prince Philip was coming in, and we put her on a little semicircle like this, actually. And the Queen came into the middle of the room and looked around and said, my fishmonger's come over. And I thought, Kathleen O'Connell, I hope you're looking down on this, my love.
Who'd have thunk it? But the thing is, as well, when that visit happened, and there was a lot of chat back and forth about how a watershed moment it was, how appropriate people were kind of, some were for it, some were against it. And going to Cork as well, we're the rebel county, so it was always going to be polarising for people. But I think your chat with her kind of broke the ice in more ways than one, and kind of showed the humanity, I think, that healed a lot of wounds. Were you aware how momentous it was for the country looking on?
I think I was, I'll be honest, because as you say, I've been dealing with the public every day, so you're getting this banter of it's good, it's bad, it shouldn't be happening, it's fantastic. You're getting both sides, and I understand both sides. Yeah. We have a horrible history with England. But I think there comes a time where you can't live in the past. You've got to put it there, and you've got to learn from it, and you've got to move on. And I think that was an opportunity. I think England wanted to go that way, and I think we had two wonderful presidents before, in Mary Robinson and Mary McAleese at the time. I think we've been so gifted with our presidents that we've had recently. They were absolutely statespeople, and they were respected, and they had a level of honesty and I suppose confidence that stood by us. And I think they brought a statehood to this country that we kind of hadn't had up to then. And I think we were being recognised as an independent state, which was very important to this country.
Yeah, and I think especially hearing the Queen used a couple of words of Irish as well in her address.
Well, I think absolutely.
Moments like that are big watershed moments.
And I think that the fact that, she said there were things that happened that, in hindsight, we wish hadn't happened or had not happened at all. And I think we all felt that way.
Yeah.
But, you can't forever leave these things fester. You can't forever hate people because of what a previous generation did. There were kids sent up chimneys one time to clean chimneys. History moves on. And I think that was a watershed moment.
Pat, before you leave us, is it true you were in touch with her again recently enough?
I've been in touch with her ever since.
How do you how does one become pen pals with the Queen?
No idea. It has been the strangest engagement and strangest kind of correspondence ever. It started with a salmon, because when they were here, we had salmon from the River Lee, which is amazing that you can have wild salmon coming from 50 yards away from the English market, and in superb condition. And I knew from beforehand that she likes salmon, and Prince Philip likes salmon, and I'd love to give her the salmon on the day, but because of protocol, we weren't allowed. So I said, I'm going to send the salmon over if I get a chance. So I did, and we got this lovely letter back about 2 weeks later saying, thanks for the wonderful present of the smoked salmon. And, there's a kind of standard letter that you get from the palace, but then you get a little bit of writing at the end, which is the bit that's the icing on the cake. And down underneath it by her private secretary at the time, Paul Young, the salmon was judged to be delicious.
Fantastic.
Brilliant.
That letter was addressed to Dear Mr. O'Connell, but now they're all Dear Pat.
But you know what, isn't that absolutely lovely? And it started with the salmon. There's a line of the century. Anyway, listen, Pat, thank you so much.
It started with a monkfish.